All right. Well, hello.
Hey.
How are you doing?
Hey everybody. I'm good. How are you guys?
Yeah.
I'm loving the whale vibes. The whale and the turtle.
I had to switch it up a little bit, you know? I got to get my turtle going on for all kinds of things.
I love it. I'm feeling it. What's that thing in the little right corner?
On the top? That guy?
No, that like down there, that one.
I think there's more turtles in there is what that
I see
is.
a turtle. He looks like a cool turtle. I thought it was like I don't like some form of a seal or something. Like,
Yeah.
anyways, he's vibing. He's vibing with us.
Yeah,
He's in
be
with the
vibing with
energies.
the whole thing, you know, we gotta I love the energy of the whales. They're very ancestral and also they have so much knowledge that's very,
Mm.
like, quiet but knowing, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
wise wisdom.
there
I
it is
totally
right there,
agree.
yeah.
I totally
Yeah.
agree. I love
So,
that. I love that
Anya.
you're anchoring in. Yes.
Totally.
Yes.
Yes, yes. How
Yes,
has your
yes.
week been? How has your week been? What have you been up to?
Um, I always like, when have you ever been to like one of them therapy sessions where they're like, tick on a box out of 10, like how your week's been. And I'm like, man, my day changes from half an hour to in the different scale. Like, how you going to expect me to put a week on a scale, you know? Like, my brain was just like, well, words, human words for this. I would say, I don't know, like, I'm feeling stagnant at the moment. I'm feeling very stuck and like,
Mhm.
hey, oh, what's going on here? Oh, sorry about this. I was having some interference there. It was a video that had been processing in CapCut that just decided to play itself
Oh, there
in
it
the
is.
background. So I do apologise. I wondered what was going on. There it was. Do apologise. Yes. So this week it has been up, down, left, right. Yesterday, backwards, forwards. I don't know. I'm feeling very stuck, but I'm also feeling like I flip between feeling really hopeless and like, what am I doing? Where am I going? What's the next move? And then I flip between like, oh my god, life's beautiful. Can't wait for these energies that just come in. Like, it's amazing. We're so powerful. And I'm like, what is this energetic bipolar that I am going through at the moment? But it is legit a thing. Like, and I'm really struggling to find a stable base point of just like peace and calm and chilling and easy ease and flow. I'm not really there right now. I'm either in a real state of like joy and bliss or a real state of like, oh, whoa, what is the next move? Heaviness and a little bit of stagnant energy. And yeah, I did a little ceremony this week, and that definitely was way overdue. I feel like I haven't experienced a nice, beautiful ceremony just on my own without the babies, for a long time. And
Nice. Mhm.
when I first had my son, I really was obviously I experienced postnatal depression, but I really didn't feel like leaving him like at all, for a long time. And he didn't have the same like sleep schedule that my daughter has. He didn't have the same like comfort in relaxing on his own in his own like crib or things like that that she does. So I didn't really get much free time at all in them first like 6 months. Whereas Sky is obviously only 3 months old, and I feel a lot more sense of like freedom, ironically, than I thought I'd feel. Like I have a lot more sense of don't get me wrong, I really don't have a minute, but I expected to not even be able to like go to my friend's house, for example, for an hour or two for a long while because I exclusively breastfeed. And so, it's quite different to have that experience where she can go to sleep on a night and she'll just sleep for hours on end and I can then, have a little bit of free time. So yeah, anyways,
Nice.
long story short, I took that free time and I enjoyed it. And I had a little ceremony the other night with a good friend of mine, and we always go on the wildest, beautiful journeys. But
Mhm.
this time it
Mhm.
was different. It was more just calm. Like it just felt like a real, calm, meditative space, and like in and out of meditational vibes, and like
Mhm.
in and out of visions. And because I was allowed the space to be able to tap into that energy source, it was like an open door. And there was some energies. Then it was quiet again, and I think I was adjusting to being in that energy again without being in like mum mode, as I call it, and like constantly, in responsible
Yep.
energy mode. And I think I was still adjusting because I kept coming in and out of that meditational vibe. Um, but I definitely experienced it afterwards as well. In the next few days after that experience, after my beautiful ceremony, we experienced a sense of like releasing and acknowledgement and things coming together in the mind, but then also things surfacing in the physical body. And, like recognizing, certain ailments, certain aches, certain injuries, certain
Mhm.
emotions, certain things that have surfaced in my body that are actually deeply connected to my own inner wounds and my own inner trauma and inner muscle memory that
Mhm.
might be storing that energy. And so, yeah, I was really allowed to feel that this week and feel a lot of different emotions. And yeah, it's been a different week, and it's been a change to what I'm used to in parenting a new baby. So I've definitely had to adjust my expectations a little bit and just go with the flow. What about
Perfect.
you?
I like that. Adjust expectations, go with the flow. I'm going
Yeah.
back to a little bit of what you said and laughing because yes, I have gone to a therapist where they try and rate you and you're like, and I have also put down use your imagination
I
as I have
love
used
that.
mine.
I love that. I
So,
love that.
I would say this last week has been for me it's been an adventure and that's what I'm kind of shifting my gears into like I want to be an adventurer. So I've been out and about in the mountains a lot. And the main thing that has come up for me is like, how do I anchor all this information into my body? How does my body want to interact with it? Because I'm not, and we had talked about this a little bit earlier, and I wanted to just circle that is we're in this spiritual, if you want to call it spiritual aspect, energetic, and I see all the time like we're getting into the astral, we're clearing our akashic records, we're going to other planets, and we're doing the things, and for me, I'm like that's great, and also like where the fuck is your body?
It
I
is so
mean,
true. So true. So true. It is like a key part of it though. If I ever mute, it's just because there's dogs and they bark a lot. But yeah, it's the body is the key, and I think that's what I've been noticing this week. Like I'm a very physical person, as you guys know. I've mentioned to you guys before. I like to dance. I like to release in that way. I like to move the energy and shift it out in that flow. But I think sometimes it's like, oh, I'm too busy to feel this emotion right now and to move it out of the body. So it's like you say, I feel a lot of spiritual energies, community things can be spiritually bypassing, if that's the word you want to use, when you
mhm,
are dealing with it in the astral realm, in the Akashic realm. And don't get me wrong, I think you need to cut contracts, close
sure.
soul, attachments, and do all the different releasing and lifetimes, and clear your records and all that shebang. I think you need to do that. Check your shadows. That's so important. But then there is a certain point where it's like, okay, have you checked your nervous system? Have you regulated your breathing? Have you
Mhm,
grounded lately? Have you shifted and moved your energy from a stagnant place? Have you worked on opening your chakras through different things that chakra resonates with? Like, we could go on and on and on, but for example, like the root chakra, you might need grounding, you might need to go outside in nature, you
mhm,
might need to put your
mhm,
feet in a river, using things physically to help the spiritual release and to help the activation, to help the integration, so that you can actually shift it and move it and feel it rather than just do it. Like, it's the whole triad that I always go back to after doing my stomach problem: mind, body, soul, and then I add the spirit too, because I think there's a slight like your
mhm,
higher self and
mhm,
your other thing. I learned that later on, but the mind, body, soul is the key to start with. But then the spirit is kind of like that higher self aspect of the
sure.
oversoul, that kind of extra thing. But the mind, body, soul for a start is definitely like literally consciousness, your physical body, and then your spiritual self that's residing in that body, and how all that
Mhm,
is working together in one vessel. And working on that, for me, you can't do one thing or one aspect and expect to be healed or healing
sure.
if you're not working on the other aspects. It's the same if you are doing the body but not the spiritual work or not the energetic and emotional work. You are going to still be then carrying programs and patterns and spiritual attachments to things that you could be releasing, but you're choosing to do it physically. So it can work both
Sure.
ways. But
Sure.
I think for us personally, because we are energy workers, sometimes what we do forget is the physical vessel, or what that's how I can speak for myself.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, no, I agree, and coming from a person, like, who's done that, like, I've been in those spaces and I've bypassed my body, and it's like, "What are you doing?"
Mm-hmm.
You know? Coming into a balanced space of, I want all of that to be an embodiment. I want my soul perspective. I want my physical being, my mental perspective to be working together
Hmm.
as partners, and that's how I see it. Like if one
Yeah.
is off, the other is off. So,
Yeah.
like okay, and I
No,
can
so
feel it
true.
right away. I can feel it right away. Okay, maybe there's a construct I'm hitting or I'm seeing something in my outside reality that keeps bumping up.
Hmm.
And I'm like, okay, obviously like what's the internal dialogue here? Body and mind and soul and essence of
Hmm.
consciousness. Like how do you want to interact with that? What choice will you do? What will you work with? And I would say that over the last week, like anytime I hit up something that's like, well, okay, I'm seeing it in my outer reality. What is my internal doing? If I feel like centered in it, I'm like, okay, cool. How do I want to create with that?
Yeah.
How do I want to create with that energy? Do I want to express my emotion through my body? Do I want to create art out of it? Um, do I want to go outside and scream? Like, how do I want to actually work with that? Or do I want to choose something different, which would be not to interact with it at all?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So,
And yeah, and they're really good options because there's never, like when people are, oh, how do you do this, or how do you heal this, or how do you work through this? And it's like, well, that will vary and differ depending on what you need, where that wound comes
right,
from, what the root cause of it is, how you're reinforcing it in the programs and patterns that you might still be playing in your daily life. That answer is so multifaceted based on the person asking it and the issues that are
sure,
being presented when the questions come. So I think it is important to consider the fact that we do have options and we do have choices.
right,
Like
yep,
there's so many different ways to feel things in the body. But I love that saying of like feeling it to heal it, because you have to be able
totally.
to,
Hmm.
like, for example, if someone's like, well, am I doing that? Am I doing the right thing? The way I would perceive this is, like you say, something starts bothering you, you start thinking about something, about a childhood experience, or it could even be, you start to notice that you feel kind of lonely, you feel kind of like you close yourself off and you're not open to love or things like that. So you're actually noticing the emotion. Then you start to question maybe why, and then you start to look at your childhood and you start to look at maybe where you didn't feel like loved and supported and where you've had kind of shut down. So then you start to establish that's like your root, if you will.
Hmm.
And so then for me, it's about feeling that. I would maybe approach that in multiple ways. I might go to the Akashic and connect with my inner child, but then I also might write physically my inner child a letter at that age,
Right.
and connect with it, get a picture if I've got one of that child at that age myself, and talk to her and write and connect with her, and
Hmm.
then actually work with that energy and feel it, maybe cry some emotions, maybe give myself a hug, and then I would take some breaths to release that energy and to shift it out of my physical body, and to maybe
Hmm.
dance a little bit or move it out. And so that's kind of a rough example, if you will, of how to identify it, how to acknowledge it, and how to then work on shifting it through different methods. So you're shifting it in the energetic patterns in the spiritual realm, you're working with it in
Hmm.
the
Right.
consciousness by visually connecting, and then you're physically releasing it. And so that's my body soul. And I think it is important with anything that we're working through to make sure that we are checking in the other aspects, like have I cleared all the contracts related to this? Have I got any programs or patterns in my mind that are running related to this that I need to get rid of? Or
Right.
what are my beliefs about this? Or, things like that. I think that's important to question.
Oh, totally. Yeah, that's a golden nugget
Yeah.
right there. That's can you question yourself? Can you stop yourself,
Yeah.
take accountability of your awareness and where you're at, and say, "Hey, man, do I have something deeper here to look at?" Ask myself, ask my body, ask my internal networking. Do I? If I feel something in my body, obviously my body's carrying something, right? It's like, oh, I care a little bit about this situation. Okay,
Yep.
all right, that's awesome,
Yep.
body. Then how do I want to make a choice from that point? And I do question myself daily, like, okay, is that something, do I want to
Mhm.
dive deeper on it? I want to bring up this more of this, and how do I want to play with this in my game? Like, is that something that I want to interact with? And if my body wants to release it, then there, how many multitudes of ways can I do that with my body and my inner child? Because she might want to try an entirely different way. Maybe it's her voice this time.
Yeah.
That's something that
Yeah.
I did this week, was like poetry. I'm like, okay, well, you want to get that direct with yourself, then let's do some poetry and let's get that out there, right? you know
That's so true. Yeah, I love that as well. I resonate with that this week. I've been really missing my little Nana. She passed away this time last year.
mm,
And I feel like I'm actually feeling the grief now instead of then. I kind of was very much in the spiritual perspective, like, oh, she's free and she's like happy
Sure.
and she's
Yep.
not in pain, and all that is still valid and true. But now, like, my physical body is like, oh, she's not actually here anymore. And like, I got some
Mhm.
clothes of hers and I was smelling them and I just burst into tears, and I felt so much sadness and emotion of like missing her and
Mhm.
not being able
Mhm.
to talk to her and stuff. And I really felt that, and I was really sat with it for like 3 days, and I couldn't shift it. I was just sat there, and I was like, man, what am I going to do about this? It was really heavy, and I didn't even think, what am I going to do about this? I didn't even try and shift it. I'm not going to lie. I think I just
Yep.
sat with it.
Yep.
I think I just thought, yeah, okay, this needs to be here. And I had to go up to get the last of my stuff from my nan's. And so I did, and I had a really emotional time there. She visited me with my granddad with some little birds, these little robin birds that come in the garden. And I kind of just took from the whole thing a few days after. I was sat here in the office and I ended up writing this song about my nan and about like her connection to daffodils
Mhm.
and like how she reminds me so much of the seasons changing and how she's always there. And it's so beautiful. That's what I was just listening to actually when you joined back
Nice.
on. My nose is itching as well, so that means when my
Get
nose
it.
goes like this, I'm like, why do you have to do me like this? It's like their way of letting me know that they're near, like my spirit guides. But yeah, so it really was a sense of connection and then release, not releasing, but
Sure.
a place for that emotion to go. It felt like
Right.
writing
Right.
that song gave the emotion a home and gave that grief and gave that sadness and also love and joy that she's at peace and happy into like one beautiful song thing. And it just, yeah, it
Right.
felt right. And then I don't feel that same heaviness I felt like past few days before that. So that was really releasing for me, and I really allowed it to exist, but then also it naturally found its new home.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, I want to kind of bring that up in its space and give it a lot of presence, because when those things do pop up in your physical reality, and this is for everybody, what do you do with that? How do you work with
Mm-hmm.
that? What does that look like? Because we are in a very physical reality, and I know for myself, and I know for you too, we embrace that. I'm like, no, I'm
Yeah,
in
yeah.
I'm in this human right now, and she's
Mm-hmm.
real feisty, and
I'm here for the long road.
exactly. She's very playful. She does all these amazing things that I love my body so much for. And there are these layers and sets of layers and overarching layers that kind of come back and hit you. It could be a year later, it could be 2 years later, where
Mm.
the memories pop up and you're like, okay, so now's the time that we're gonna take a look at this.
Yeah,
And
100%.
what are you going to do with that? Can you I mean, for me, it's surrendering, it's allowing it to be present and allowing my
Mm-hmm.
body to viscerally experience what it wants to experience with it. And either that's a purge or it's a creation or, body. And I say that like, body, that's awesome. I'm so glad that you're actually experiencing this right now. What do you want to do with it?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think what you just said were really important, actually, whether it's a purge or whether it's a creation. I struggle because I didn't intentionally write that song. It wasn't even, I didn't think, oh, yeah, I'll write a song about it. It wasn't even a thought. I just ended up thinking, do you know what? I need to get
Hmm.
this out somewhere. First thing I did was think about doing that. But
Right.
sometimes if I end up purging the emotion, I kind of used to blame myself and feel guilt about it or like shame
Ah,
about it because it wasn't
hmm.
like, I don't know what's the right word. It wasn't like socially approved or
Sure.
productive or
Sure. Hmm.
anything that, like, I don't know, just it wasn't something that was packaged up neatly with a bow on it. It wasn't
Sure.
a pretty song or a poem, or
Hmm.
it was like crying on the bedroom floor wondering why life is like it is sometimes. It was like,
For sure.
okay,
Yep.
damn, oh damn, that's happening right now. So,
Deep.
and
Yep.
it really kind of took me a little while to accept that as healing too.
Hmm.
And what were I was crying about something the other day, I don't know what it was. I actually thought that, like, it was like a couple of weeks ago, and I actually thought that, oh shit, this is healing. Like, I actually sat there
Yep.
mid like breakdown cry and thought, wow, this is actually healing right now. And I've never done that before because usually I allow myself to cry, but then it's like,
Sure.
oh, why did you have that big meltdown? Why can't you emotionally regulate your emotions?
Hmm.
Whereas I feel like I were able to kind of accept that that is regulating your emotions. That's a part of that. you
Yep.
know.
Yep. Yeah, it is. And everybody, again, for everybody here, this is a perspective, and we're always going to be here to have you question yourself and look at yourself what you like to regulate in your system and how that works for you, because it's not going to look like anybody else's. Definitely not going to look like ours. Mine is it's across the board. It's a very visceral dance depending on how I want to do that dance. Do I want to um and again, like, it could be a purge. It could be like I go up to the mountains and I just fucking lay it
Mm.
out.
Yeah,
You
I've done it a few times in my local forest.
Yep. It could be any which way, and that's why I call it a dance. If I'm allowing myself to go through the entire experience, and this is throughout the day, there's these experiences, and they're very expanding and contracting at the same time. And how do I want to deal
Mm.
with that? Do I want to be in that space of crying, or do I want to create with it? Just depends. Just I give myself the
Hmm.
infinite possibility of choices that could be.
Yeah, and I love that again, that little crying or create. I love these little like reflections of one or the like, not one or the other, but like, you know, pathways, and also that opens up the middle pathway, like because the creation can sometimes be like something that can be not gifted to others, but shared as a gift with others in terms of
Sure.
like for their reflection and for their growth and healing. And sometimes I kind of did that a lot. I would go through something and kind of package it up to help others, but then I was kind of rushing some parts of my own healing. And I think that's where dance became like a big middle
Hmm.
part. It was
Yep.
not crying, but it's also not creation. It not for me because it wasn't something I was producing out to the world or like had to be perfect or because for
Right.
me music and singing is also like something I've done for so long and it's something I do as like a profession and I post it online sometimes and so it's like it's got that level of like if it's not perfect it's not like I don't know not perfect but you know if it's not up to my standard of like a finished product then sometimes I don't want to share it whereas dancing in the moment you can't not share that energy. It's just there. And also writing the song again, it's the same. But
Right.
I don't know, there's something just about different with dancing. And my friend
Hmm.
Ali, what a lovely friend Ali, who's on my Tuesday night groups, and she's the little dancing fairy. She was
Hmm.
at the
Yep.
New Earth
Yep.
Gathering. Do you
I
remember?
love her so
Beautiful
much.
little thing.
Hi,
Yeah.
Allie.
Hi, Ali, when you're watching, because she's just awesome. I love her so much. And she just, I always think about her, the little dancing fairy, like when I feel like I need to release my energy, and we have a little synergy with the dance. And it was a bit of a blockage for me for a while because that was also something I did as a child in like dance school and stage
Sure.
school. And so it was like professionalized. And then recently, over the past few years, I reclaimed it as my own energy
Mhm,
release and
mhm,
my own like
mhm. Yep.
connection. And I've so enjoyed that. I've so enjoyed that like middle ground of
Sure.
not crying, but not necessarily like creating something that's for everyone else or even just for me.
Mhm.
Like it's just
Right.
being in the moment truly with that dance and that movement and that beat and that music and it really has helped me um find some inner peace and regulation in those moments of like upsetment, chaos, overwhelm, joy, all different types of emotions. So it's been really nice that as a middle ground.
I love that. I love that. I have to say that's a big ground for me too. And in this particular body who did 22 years of professional ballet.
Right.
Like
Okay,
I
so
was
you get it.
yep, yep, too professional. Not I had to definitely unwind all of that
Mm-hmm.
programming to go back to
Yeah.
the self of what I like to dance, which is just the
What is
total
dance?
what is
Yeah.
dance?
Yeah.
What is the natural dance of my body that likes to do? And so it's been really fun to unravel that and just interplay with that. And I do it throughout the day too. It's like my body's like, and stop, music on. We're getting down and jiggy.
Yeah, I love it. Do you know, I think that's when we like truly bonded, you know, out on that dance floor, see? I think that's when we bonded for sure. I was like, hey, this girl got moves, we got moves. I mean, there's
I was
me
like,
like 7 months pregnant, like,
yep,
woo.
yep, yep. Yeah, no, that was a great experience. That was like
It
my
was
that's like
wonderful.
my favorite tip point there because I was like,
It was.
this is the gravity of what I want my reality right now. Let's
Right,
dance.
right. So good. I think Phoenix had the best time too. He was the last man standing on that dance
Oh,
floor all
totally.
night. He
Yep,
he
yep.
enjoyed it. So it was just a wonderful dance again, reflecting that energy back of it had been such a beautiful time, but also like a lot of energy and a lot of planning and a lot of prep and a lot of like, whoa, 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 even to that day, getting everything ready and on time. And there's been a lot of anxiety and a lot of pressure. And so I think for everybody in their own, that was my experience, but for everybody in their own way, kind of got to release all of that energy that day on the dance floor, and it was just truly a joyous
Yep.
celebration. And I think
Yep.
that's the point. Sometimes it's being able to, whether you're on a dance floor or your kitchen floor, whatever it is, just
Yep.
shake your moves and get your little energy flowing, and don't be afraid of being judged, because you know what, there really is a point where you'll get
Mhm.
to when you're kind of on that point of passing over, and you'll think, wow, I don't think we'll ever regret the moments that we fully lived. I think it's
Right.
more
Right.
regretting the points where we didn't. And so I always remember that when I'm feeling all nervous and anxiety-fied, I'm like, no, do it, because you don't want to ever think about the times where you should or could have done and you didn't, you know? So
Right.
I
Yep.
always just say, give it a go. What's the worst thing that could happen? If it feels right in your soul, go with it.
Yeah, yeah, that's some of the biggest facets that I worked with the judgment piece, and now like I'm doing it everywhere. I will dance
Mm-hmm.
everywhere no matter what and
No, I
not give
love
a
that.
shit. And
I do love it.
yeah, I think my soul in and of itself is such a big dancer. She loves that facet of it, and my body also really just enjoys it. So I'd
Mm-hmm.
say get down everybody.
Get down and jiggy with it. No, because it is a big thing, you know, because whether it's dance or whatever else, other thing, you know, other way of moving your body, you know, I think the main thing to look at is like, over the years, I have been able to maybe do it in private or dance in private or dance in a environment like a dancing club where everyone's doing it, but you know, it's normal. But then, say, like when I went to Morocco, the first time I went to the retreat, I was kind of finding myself a little bit. And I remember a couple of times I wanted to get up and dance, but I felt too nervous. And I remember feeling like in my body and questioning at the time, like, why are you feeling such resistance? Like, what is going on for you to feel like such a sense of resistance? And simply it is like you say, the fear of being judged, the fear of being
Right.
seen,
Yep.
the fear of being too much, you know, all these different things.
Right.
And I had to sit with them over time. And I definitely think that if I were presented with the opportunity now, I'd be far more comfortable than I was then. And so
Yep.
growth, it just happens over small, tiny moments of self acceptance that allows
Right.
you to grow into that person you're allowing yourself to be, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Your truest expression, I would say, coming into that
Mm.
space. And also giving yourself permission to take the time to take tiny little steps, you know?
Yeah.
Tiny little steps at a time. That's I at least for my body, I know now she can handle more and more and more, but it was for a good period of time like I'm going to take just a tiny and hold that. I'm just going to hold that tiny little step
Yeah. Right. That's so
before she
true.
was able yeah, before she was
Mm-hmm.
able to handle more. So I would say for all of you guys out there watching too, just give yourself permission to take it as slow with ease as you
Mm.
possibly need to, as much time.
Yeah. No, that's very true, because when I had the ceremony with my friend the other day, something came up in her experiences, and we both looked, and I was like, I just don't think it's the right time to work with that. And she was like, no, I agree. And so we
Mm-hmm.
both recognized it came up, she acknowledged it and brought it forward. But we both also recognized that this is not the right time to dive into that for her. Like, it wasn't the right time to work on it. It was just the time for the seed to be planted, for it to be there, and then for it to be revisited in the future in a different time and place when it was aligned. But it's also like not forcing things and not rushing things, you know, whether
Right.
that's through meditation or through any form of like plant medicines or anything that can be sometimes force, like putting a circle in a square, the shape will fit in the box when it's ready to fit in. You know, sometimes
Right.
things can take a little bit more time for your mind, body, and soul to align to have this kind of
Yep.
integration or knowing or releasing, or for you to be in the right environment to be stable enough to release this and feel this emotion, you know, because there's a lot of things that come with the releasing. It's not just right, there you go, it's gone. You know, you kind of got
Yep.
to,
Yep.
it's like pulling something out. It's like untangling it from the mind,
Right.
literally from the tangles, the processes of the mind, the body, the nervous system, the
Mm-hmm.
muscle memory,
Right. Right.
all of it, you know. And the nervous system is so used to reprogramming that and redoing that and redoing that that it has to
Sure is.
break the patterns, and that takes time. And to do that, you have to feel it, cry, emotion, sing, laugh, release it, to then go, okay, that wound's healing and I can rebuild a new pattern. But that doesn't
For
happen
sure.
overnight.
Certainly does not, and I feel like that's a misconception that I've seen out there, that like you can just, you're in the spiritual healing phase and it's going to be like it's going to be amped up. I'm going to make these changes really quickly, and the fact of the matter is once you hit a belief system or a construct in your body, your nervous system then has to tap into that, detox that, right? And it is a
Literally.
total detox. That's the purge right there. However you want to get
Mm-hmm.
it out, whatever the case is. And then from there, that's just the very beginning of the work, because then you got to keep walking that path and keep walking it, because there's the next layer. You want your nervous system to create those new little nubs for new pathways, right? That also
Exactly,
means
yeah.
that you got to keep every single day, keep up with those thought forms, keep up with the emotional purging, keep up with the, oh, here's a new route here, I'm going to take that, until you have an understanding within your body that you're going to react to the stimulus in a different way.
Excuse me. Yeah, I totally agree. And it's like, it is that repatterning and that reprogramming that does, for me personally, take the longest time.
Yep.
I can spiritually acknowledge it and it's instantly done. I say, all right, cool. And if I'm at the point of physically releasing it and I'm crying it out and I'm letting it go,
Sure.
it's probably not often I'll revisit it to that level. There's
Right.
probably been only certain times that things have hurt me so deeply, because then it's like I have different emotional layers and self-love and
Sure.
boundaries in place that mean that I don't get betrayed or hurt in that way to the same extent, because I don't give people that part of me that I did in that first instance.
Right. Totally.
So it's like you say, the more that you do these different layers, you're not just going to be healed. And I think that's such a misconception. Like, even the word healed, who the
Is
fuck's ever
yep.
going to be healed?
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Who around here thinks they're ever going to be fucking fully healed? Because that ain't happening. Just to burst your bubbles first. Sorry, unfortunately. If you get to that level of ascended mastery, most likely you're going to die. You probably would be dead, because you'd be at the level of sense of, if you're healed, and you're not in the human experience. The human experience is a polarized experience, and that don't mean that you're going to be physically suffering forever.
Sure.
Let me just
Sure.
reword that for
Yes.
people. I do believe that there'll be med beds and different levels of physical healing modalities that are not currently available to us, that will alleviate extreme suffering and physical ailments and disease and all the toxins and things that have come from our environment and our 3D world. However, let's talk about an emotional level and triggers and patterns and programs. The whole point, in my experience, of why we came to be a human is to ascend our soul, to raise awareness and expansion with our soul. And we do that through working through the layers and working through these different kind of like soul obstacles, if you will.
Sure.
And don't get me wrong, I don't think we're going to be in the karma. I don't think we're going to be in the 3D cycles that we've been in and the pattern. But how can you learn if every day was Groundhog Day, 5D bliss on repeat?
Yeah.
What are we learning from that? Like, what expansions, what reflections, what jealousies, what guilt, what shames, what
Sure.
self-awareness is, what inner child triggers, what all of that comes from expanding your own soul and healing comes from the world around us and the external world of reflection that then triggers the inner healing. So without that, I don't see the point in being a human being. I don't see how that can coexist.
Sure.
For me, it feels the new earth will be a lot of people that are in a lot more of a healed vibrational state than they were, 5-10 years ago. And so by chance that everyone's acting in a higher vibration from self will mean that they are treating each other in a higher vibration, which means the whole overall experience will be in a higher vibration. But I would class myself as a higher vibrational person most of the time, but I still feel anger. I still feel upset. I still feel jealousy and resentment and frustration and all of these low vibrational human emotions. I still feel them as a high vibrational human, whatever you want to call it, these human words. It's not, we don't get to a place of, right, I've ascended, I'm here now, bish bash bosh. It's not a physical destinational place. It's a constant evolving spiritual process. And I feel the best way to describe it is you'll always be doing the layers, but the way that you are able to do them layers is just so much
Right.
easier because
Right.
you have techniques and tools and regulation and muscle memory and support systems and community and love
Sure.
and all
Sure.
these other things that we didn't have before that made it so much
Right.
more
Right.
lonely and
Right.
harder, and physical healing things as well. And so when we have all of that, we're not going to be stuck in it and living the same cycles and
Sure. Sure.
repeating it all as life. It's going to be right, that's come up, let's deal with that, let's move forward. Okay,
That's
have a
it.
bit of a rest, have
Yep.
a bit of a
Yep.
flow, create for a bit.
Yep.
Okay, something else come up, let's deal with that. Maybe this is a collective thing, we'll work on it together. That's what I
Sure.
see it
Sure.
as being the new
Sure.
earth, and that's how I see healing being in the new earth. I don't see it being you going and giving your power away to a healer. I'm not saying that that's wrong. I just
Sure.
think
Yep. Yep.
we should be reminding people how to do it themselves.
That's yeah, yeah, and that's thank you so much for your expression. I absolutely appreciate that. I'm gonna circle the flow in here because that's where I feel like that's headed into the new earth. It's with flow, and I'm not gonna classify myself as any five freak whatever. I'm Z in my fullest expression. That's where I'm gonna stay, and I'm gonna continue to keep expressing myself more and more and more. And that for me is because I'm learning more tools and techniques and learning how to work with vibrational frequency in a way that I can flow with it.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
I
yeah.
can dance
And
with
that
that now.
exactly, exactly.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
it's hard to find human words for it because what even is a higher vibrational human or an ascended human, or and I think them terms in themselves come with some ego. I think the
I
point
agree.
is as long as you're
Yep.
not living, for me the way I define that by saying, oh, I'm a higher vibrational human, which sounds ego in itself, is more um, do you act out of love? Do you act out of kindness? Do you act out of choice
Sure.
to heal, like help each other and help heal reflections of each other, rather than projecting your own inner shit onto other people and not having self
Right.
awareness and accountability? And I feel
Right.
like that
Right.
that in itself, if you're doing that consciously or not, a lot of religious people do that with
Sure.
pure heart. A lot of
Sure.
people that are no spiritual whatsoever, but just kind people, loving people, they do that. And so it's not necessarily about the spiritual knowledge of being like a high
Right.
vibrational person. It's more about who you are as a soul and as a being in
Right.
this lifetime
Right.
and how you're choosing to act. I think that's what
Hmm.
defines you as whatever word you want to use, but let's
Whatever
use
word.
them human words. Yeah,
Yep.
higher
Your
vibrational
perspective.
human. Yeah, yeah.
Yep. Yep. And
That's how I see it.
yeah, I agree with that. And everybody's going to have their own perspective on it. Again, too, please question this. Please question this whole scenario for yourself and see what comes up for
Mm-hmm.
you. Because again, like the way that I interwork the dance is I want to be the best me that I possibly can in whatever it is that I'm doing. So I'm going to own all of my intensities, how I regulate where I'm at. I'm going to own that, take accountability for it, and make choices from there. And that's what
Yeah,
gives me the flow and the liberation, the sovereignty to continue up in my current space and whatever I'm attracting into my space, which would be I love to co-create and I want to co-create like that as well, like where I'm
yeah,
entirely sovereign in myself, and then co-creating turns into fun, right? Even if we
yeah,
go into shit cycles and we're like, oh my god, I'm in a little bit of a gap here. like like being able to work with that and flow and co-create and be like, yeah, I'm here, I'm gonna own that, I'm gonna just sit with that for a second, and having
mm-hmm.
someone be in their own space with their own sovereignty just allows the process to move through faster because no one's trying to fix anybody, no one's trying to do anything but be themselves,
Yeah,
gives space for the person to be in a little bit of a bump there if they need to be, and then it's like, okay, how do I want to move next, what's my choice?
yeah, for sure. And it is that knowing that we do have the choice and we can choose, but also like sometimes we just need the reminder of that. Sometimes we just need
Yep.
the reflection that we do have other choices than just what we've got into the routine and
Sure.
pattern of experiencing. And
Yep.
it is just sometimes about creating new things, creating new pathways, but also being open to the potential of newness and to the potential of change.
Right. Yep. Yep.
Mm.
Thank you
Ooh,
so
I'm
much
getting
for this.
some,
Yeah, getting some good stuff bumping in this one,
yeah, and
huh?
I'm getting some energetic upgrades as well in my eyes. My eyes are
Mhm,
like got
mhm.
some little lights flashing in them, and I'm like trying to concentrate and see, and my eyes are going. I'm like, okay, can you calm
Do-do-do-do-do.
down because I can't see, and I'm trying to see. I'm like, please calm down. Sometimes that's the joys of upgrades while you're still in a human body when they're not doing it while you're asleep. It can be. Luckily, they weren't doing it while we're driving. Let's just put it that way.
Yep, be like that sometimes. Or all the time.
No, it
I do that
can.
all the time
It
too.
can.
Yep.
No, it can. But yeah, just to kind of reflect that back, I think it is a choice, and it's being more self-aware. I think is the
Mhm,
kind of nugget here. Having self-aware, not even more self-aware. I'm not judging anybody. I'm just saying like having self-awareness and accountability is kind of the key
mhm,
to being
mhm.
able to spiritually and physically and mentally shift through things,
Right,
heal things, move past from them, whatever word you want to use. I think having awareness, accountability, and then choices on how you move forward with that is like them three little words you can remember, is checking
right.
yourself, checking the emotion, recognizing it, and then processing through it, allowing it to be, and then releasing it in whatever way feels physically suitable to you. And again, that could be anything from swimming, running, boxing, dancing, grounding, writing, journaling, poetry, any way
Uh-huh.
you
Yep,
can think to
yep.
use your body, you can release emotion. Massage is a great one. I go for a Thai massage every like 4 to 6
Mhm,
weeks
mhm, mhm.
and she's very spiritual and she didn't know what I did and she does all like the third eye activations and your throat chakra and I'm like,
Sure, sure.
yeah, I like this one, I like this lady. And she's very aligned to the energies of what I need and what I work with, and every time I go it's like a full body spiritual release as well, because I'm doing the
Mm, mhm,
work
mhm.
to release the energy when she's massaging that area. It's like a combined release of physical tension and energy
Sure,
release, and
sure.
also
Yep,
then emotional
yep.
release too. So again, using everything with different intention has so much the difference of just going to get a massage to actually I'm going to use this set time while I'm getting a massage to also check in with every part of my body that's being massaged and
Right, right,
heal and
right.
connect with that as well. And it's just using your intention, it's having the choice, it's using affirmations to have your body working more of a connection to you, even
Sure,
when you might not
sure.
feel it at that time.
Yep,
Like these
yep.
are all breaking mental conscious patterns. So that there is so much. There's always so much, and yeah, I'm just grateful that we brought this up today and we were
Mhm.
able to
For
kind of
sure, for
acknowledge it,
sure.
because it can sound small, but it actually is such a huge thing. Is being able
Yep,
to
yep.
mentally, spiritually, and physically acknowledge, process, and release.
Yep, yep. So, and just to kind of bring that all back into a one awareness would be where's your spiritual capacity, where's your mental capacity, and how are you bringing that through your body so you're embodying it into your reality and having the capacity to kind of rewrite your story essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Look at that, rewriting your story. There's always a
mhm,
new day and a different day. And, I
mhm,
definitely have been waking up feeling a bit heavier than usual and having to make choices, like going and getting in the
mhm,
bath, like
mhm.
doing some journaling, like making a plan for the day ahead, a schedule that makes me feel more in flow and
Sure.
connected rather than
Mhm.
overwhelmed and scattered. So it's just reflecting awareness, choice, change. All these little things will just make an overall such a more positive effect on the experience of
Right.
living this human life. And I do feel big changes coming. And if you are purging with colds, flus, muscle aches,
Mhm,
body,
mhm.
physical things, emotional down energies at the moment, or I'm like I said, the real high joys and the real overwhelming, desperate, like hopelessness, know that there is
Mhm.
big things coming this year. This is the year of change, and we are almost halfway through it. And that's gone very fast, in my opinion. The first month or two
Right.
was slow, and then it's sped up
Mhm.
a bit. And so we're going to have this extra release as we're going to the last part of the year. I feel like that's where we've done so much seed planting, so much pulling out all the old plants and the weeds, that we're allowing things to grow and we're allowing things to bloom, and we're going to actually start to see the physical shifts in the physical world, in
Right.
the quantum system, in the financial system, in the government, in the world as we know it. I think things are
Mhm.
really going to change this year, so just hold tight and know
Mhm.
that we are going to get through this, guys, and we're all feeling that sense of hopelessness sometimes. It's not just you if you're feeling it, and
Mhm. Mhm.
the energy will become lighter again.
And it'll go
Awesome.
into the phases where it'll feel a little bit icky again. It'll go in the phases where it'll feel lighter again.
For sure, different layer of the onion,
Different, exactly,
but
exactly.
yeah, but also, like, don't you think that because we've never broken out of this like 3D matrix before in this way,
Mhm. Yep,
this
yep,
is
yep, yep,
like
yep.
a rare like breakup moment, right? It's like we're not going to necessarily go through this specific emotion in the
Sure.
collective again because it's like it's grief, it's loss, it's joy, it's sadness, it's awakening, it's truth, it's questioning, it's the reality that when you have to take your power back, you are now responsible for everything. We
Yeah,
can no longer
absolutely.
now,
Absolutely.
blame everyone else for all the shit. Like, you kind of got to take
Yep.
accountability for it, and
Yep.
that can be
Yep.
exhausting. It can be draining, and I think we are feeling it as a collective, like everything that needs to be shifting so that we can shift into the new earth. Those that are physically suffering are suffering a lot more than most. Those that are
Right.
having addiction and, alcohol problems are kind of suffering at the moment, drinking more and using more because everything seems to be heightened and it's like
Right.
everything's
Right.
reaching
Right.
its peak until it's removed. Same with
Right.
the
Totally. Totally.
finances.
Yep.
Everyone's
Yep.
being squeezed for finances until this quantum system breaks, and it's almost like we are being backed into a corner to then be reborn, like phoenix from the ashes. And in that rebirth, I do think that's where the new earth will be born, but we will still have to build it, and that's where the waves come in. I just don't know if they'll be as intensified as they are right now.
Right, right, right. I don't feel like they will. I feel like right now we're making that leap with the big choice. Do you want to be in
Mm,
that? Do you want to be in that
yeah,
system? Do you want to
yeah,
be in the victim control, all of that type of a system, or do you not? And those choices or flags are just popping up in your face. Hey, hello, do
mhm,
you want to keep choosing that? Do you want to, as it's pulling further and further apart?
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Where I see
exactly.
that being like less and less of a conflict within my system because I've done my own internal work with it and choosing to be in a different space with it. Like I know I won't be in that
Yeah,
aspect of it. It's going to shift. Doesn't mean that I don't feel certain perspectives of it. It just means that I'm not going to be in that particular intensity of that game.
yeah, that makes sense. I like the way you put that as well. I like that. It feels like a really beautiful place to leave it with everybody and allow them to kind of sit with that and sit with what choices we are making on a daily basis that are contributing to where we are staying in this reality.
Absolutely.
Mm.
So everybody, what will you choose? How
What's
are
it
you
gonna
going to do it?
be?
What is it going to look like for you?
Oh, I love that. I actually have to think about that myself too. Like sometimes I'm so used to just going with the flow and doing where it comes up that sometimes I don't think about it. But I feel like this is one that maybe asking myself a few questions and thinking about it might be good
Mhm,
to do at the
mhm.
moment. Mm.
For sure, yeah, and me too. So,
Yeah,
I wanna thank
awesome.
everybody for,
I do. Yeah,
yeah, for showing up, for being here with us, and for questioning yourselves, and again, please do it. Please sit with yourself and see how you feel about everything, and, these things might not align with you, and that's perfectly okay. In fact, I'm grateful for that, at least if it doesn't, you know yourself enough to know that that's a
exactly. It's
no.
the resonant of truth. Resonant of truth. And I do apologize about my. I'm going to watch this back and see how strange my eyeballs will have been looking in this video because I really feel like I have been adjusting the whole eyeball frequency this whole video on and off. So I've not got funny eyes. They've just been funny for this video. So I do apologize, guys. Hopefully my eyes will return back to normal next week. I must be going through a third eye upgrade, which is also again something else you might want to be looking at in your own body. Like if you start, like sometimes you're just questioning the common sense. Like we don't actually think out loud of, is this a spiritual thing? Is this an energetic thing? Is this a program thing? Is
Right,
this a physical
right,
thing? And obviously, I always question if it's a serious health thing. Question first the physical
sure,
aspect of it.
sure,
But when it's just something like that, like a little bit of blurred vision, a little bit of like lights in the eyes, it's questioning, okay, why is this coming up? Is it an upgrade, an activation, something that needs to be released from the eyes, And it's just recognizing that that's surfacing in the body instead of
sure,
just
sure.
trying to make it go away.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Mm.
let's maybe not make things go away. Let's
Yeah,
embrace whatever's coming to the
let's
plate.
embrace it.
Let's embrace
Awesome.
it. All right,
Well, thank you,
everybody.
beautiful.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you,
It's
everybody.
been
Everybody take just a
amazing.
really big deep breath and just ground all that information into the body, however you like to ground, whether that is through trees, Mother Earth, or just focusing on your root for a minute just to see where your alignment phase is at. Mm, hmm Gratitude, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Anya.
Thank you, Z. Have a wonderful day, everybody, and we will see you next week.
Absolutely. Bye.
Bye, beautiful.